Tell me when you're ready for the intro. Hey everybody, this is the Sit Down Podcast. My name is Fabian Minnema. This is episode number 135, and we can't wait to get started. Let's go.
Have you heard about our new radio station? It's called Funky Moose Radio, where we play alternative and indie rock, sprinkle in some blues and Americana. We feature the music from our guests on this podcast at least once per hour. These songs can be in any genre. We're working on getting the station on every mobile app available, but the easiest way to listen is at funkymooseradio.ca. You should also become a VIP because we'll be giving away some prizes. Again, check it out at funkymooseradio.ca.
Hell yeah, dude.
Right on. So happy to be here, you guys. It's killer.
Before we start, I do have a couple questions. Is it Fabian or Fabien?
Fabian.
Okay.
Fabian would be killer, but it's Fabian.
Okay.
But officially, it would be Fabian.
Yeah, Fabian, I guess. And in I'm Dutch born, so in Holland they would say Fabian. There would be a lot of the weak A in there, you know. But here in Canada, it's been Fabian the whole time.
All right.
Fabian Minnema.
Yeah. This will be fun. I'm really stoked you guys are doing this. You know, it takes special focused people to be able to do something like this and keep it. And it's one thing to get things started. It's another thing to keep it going. And you guys are keeping it going. And it's very impressive.
Well, thank you. We've been, I think we're coming up on 3 years. We're like 2.5.
135 weeks.
Yeah.
That's a lot of commitment.
It's so much fun for us, man.
Yeah.
Like just getting to hang out with you guys, you artists and everything, like this is how we get to know you. And then when we go to live shows, see you guys around, and then it's like, oh, I remember you, or like, I love it, man.
We're always bumping into each other, you know. The province is small, but the festivals are plenty, so it's like you always get a chance to catch up with people, and it's super fun. We just finished up at Doylefest, which was such a great time. Like, I don't know, you know, a lot of all the artists volunteer, and you don't mind volunteering your time, but when it comes to something like that, you really don't mind volunteering your time. Like, it's such a great cause. And it was always so fun, and so many diverse artists there. It was nuts, like rap and country and rock and pop and punk and thrash. I mean, everything was just represented so well there.
I have to give you a shout out, like props to you, because when I think correct me if I'm wrong on this, the first time that you and I met, I saw you do an open mic at the Capitol.
That's right.
Were you with me, Mark, that night?
Was that an open mic, or was that the Will gig? Was I opening for Will that night? Were you that show? I know we met there first, and we talked quite extensively about doing something like this too, because you
I remember it being at the Capitol, and I saw you. I might have seen you a couple times there, but it was somebody introduced us, or I don't remember exactly. This was quite some time ago. And then
I don't think I've seen you live yet.
Since then, it's like I keep bumping into you at shows and stuff, and we're like, oh yeah, that podcast, right? Like, let's line that up. Let's line that up. And my shout out to you is when I saw you on Saturday playing drums at Doylefest. I had no freaking clue that you knew how to play the drums too, and I was like, does this guy get any freaking cooler, man? Like,
oh, that's nice, man. Drums have been my my quiet passion my whole life. I've always watched the drummer in rock bands, always listened to the drums on my favorite records, Stuart Copeland, any drums that were recorded in the 70s. I'm in love with the sound, the production, the quietness of it, the Steely Dan production angle of drumming. And I just in the last couple of years had a chance to branch out a little bit. There wasn't a whole lot going on for my guitar playing stuff. So I thought, well, I'm going to buy myself a drum kit and start banging away. And it's just really developed into playing with lots of different artists. And I've been very fortunate because I just got hired on with Oscar's Hollow to play drums for them. Of course, we're doing the Pearl Project, the Janis Joplin thing, which you saw on Saturday, which is super fun. And then drums just give you a way better understanding of what's going on in music than for me anyways. When I play guitar to when I play drums, it's a completely different world. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Like, what do you mean? It's just,
you really pay attention to your tempo, and the feel is huge. And I find shoulders, when you get your shoulders into a groove on the drums, you've got it down. You've got your thing down, you know. With guitar, you can play fast, and it really doesn't seem like you're going too fast because you're just being, shreddy or whatever. But guitar playing it's just a little bit different. You can be a little more free form. You can let things rip a little bit more. With drums, there's a few more rules you have to follow. But the dynamics of a drum set compared to a guitar, although similar, there's nothing quite like the right groove on a song to get a room moving or a festival up and down. And I find that with drums, you have a lot of control over the atmosphere where you're playing.
It's funny because Joel, right before we started this, he was like, "Hey, you should watch this video." So he took a video of you drumming, and as he was zooming in on you, it looked like you were kind of
getting your shoulders into it.
Yeah,
it's all about getting that
into
swing
that
going, and then you sort of fall into the hi-hat, and it just sort of develops the groove. And if the band hears it, they're all just going to be fine going through stuff. So
hell yeah, I'm gonna actually drop that clip in right here so the people watching can check this out right now.
Nice, yeah.
Look to the sky. You think it's gonna make you happy, but it'll make you cry. I know you got good intentions, cause they tried to show through. Every occasion the world now, babe, I'm gonna give it right back to you now, honey. Come on.
But yeah, it looked like you were having so much fun. That's what I was
man.
telling Mark too. I was like, check this out. It looks like he's having a blast.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it, man. I love anything. If I'm playing bass or guitar, drums, singing, whatever. If I'm playing tambourine, I just find it my spot, and I just have so much fun. It's just the most natural expression for me. Is any kind of musical, any kind of sound musically is where it's at for me.
Frickin' right.
Yeah.
You did send us a couple songs, which we will play in this show for the viewers. I have some questions on these songs as well. So my first question is, are you playing every instrument in those songs, or do you play with a band?
I'm playing every instrument on those recordings except for the keyboards, which were done by Matt Stinn from Rainy Day Recordings?
Rainy Day Recordings.
Yes, he actually was just on the show a couple
with
weeks ago.
Greenwing, right? Yeah, I saw that. I watched that as well. And Matt's such a great guy. He made time for me when it was in the summer. It was sort of busy, and he made a lot of time for me, and it was really, really nice. And he's a really talented. Hi, how are you? And he's a really talented. He's a really talented musician.
He said,
"Hi, how are you?" Can't hear him.
Oh,
he says hello.
Oh,
it was room service.
Matt's great, man. He runs a great studio, and he's a great engineer. He's got great production qualities. People kind of find him a little bit gruff, and I did too when I first met him. He was working the door at the Capitol when I first met him, and he had to be a little bit gruff, but he's really a really savvy musician, a great engineer, and a real jewel in Saskatoon because he runs a real top-notch, world-class facility at his place. Really nice stuff.
Definitely. We got the opportunity to meet him in person there.
Yeah.
For the first time. Actually, Mark, I don't know if you know this. I'm gonna continue this on about Matt here. Shout out to Matt. We love you.
Yeah, we love you.
He was in or is in a band called Autopilots, I believe.
Autopilot. He's touring with Autopilot. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in Arizona or something right
now. Funny thing about that name is for I don't know if the viewers out there recall when we had Northern Royals on for the first time. Before Northern Royals were named Northern Royals, they were named Autopilots.
The Autopilots.
Oh, I didn't
know. And then
that.
There was like a thing because there was two bands out there with the same name. So like, you know what, they were each getting their own phone calls and stuff like that. And then Northern Royals changed their name to Northern Royals. Now,
that's great.
Fast forward like 2-3 years from me hearing this, and Autopilot started following me on Instagram, so I like checked it out. And here I see Matt on it, but that was like 2 days after Moose Fest, and I had just purchased the first Northern Royals EP when they were still called Autopilot. So I was like, what the frick is going on here? And then I know, right? And then I saw Matt in that picture. So I like hit him up. I'm like, dude, I was like, have I got a story for you?
That's so good.
Yeah.
So Matt comes around in the city. He's very, very talented. Yeah. And that's Green Wing's a great band. Great rock band, man. Whew.
They are. I actually saw them in Regina. I forget the name of the club now.
exchange?
It's the one with like the bar or the bar. The stage is like really, really high.
Yeah,
above
really high. It's not O'Hanlon's, is it?
That's the one.
It's
That's the
O'Hanlon's.
one.
Yeah. I know that place. Great
And
band.
actually, if I'm not mistaken, Chris Demas is the one who does the booking for that venue. I was just told that. Anyways,
Cool.
moving
Joel's
on.
just name dropping right now.
Yeah,
Killer,
yeah,
it's
no
killer,
doubt.
man. Right on.
Freaking right. So how long have you been or no, let's go back to the recording of that.
Sure,
So you
yeah.
play all the instruments except for the keys.
That's right.
And do you are you doing the production yourself?
I'm producing 100% of the music myself. I did have Matt help out with a couple of things when it came to the keyboard stuff. He just, I sort of let him have free reign, and I told him, I said, you're going to get the production credit for whatever you want to put down. And he just laid down a real simple thing, but it just really elevated the tunes a little bit, really softened some things up. And I still find those songs, they may not quite be ready yet for a release. I'm very picky, and not in the sense that I think it can be, that everything could be better. It's got to sound right to my ears. And if it doesn't sound right to my ears, I don't want to let it go. It's just one of those things. I just find it to be a little bit bass heavy still. So we're working on rounding off a couple things, and then hopefully in the next couple of months it'll be ready for release. But the listeners get a chance to hear it on this episode, and not a lot of people have heard these two songs. And also, Jillian Snyder sings backup vocals on both tunes. She sings backups with me. So
Hell yeah! Well, let's throw one of those in here right now.
Yeah, let's have a listen.
So B&B,
Yeah.
now this might be a silly question, but what does B&B stand for?
You know, it doesn't really stand for anything but anything you can think of. We were looking for a name for the tune. I wrote that song years ago when I played the band called Make Liars, and we performed that song live a lot, and I just never got around to picking names. I always kind of left it for the rest of the band to pick names. To me, it didn't matter. The weirder the name, the better. So somebody said B&B for whatever reason. We had a really cool bass player in our band for a while, Chris Richardson, and he would come up with the craziest names. Seb Lloyd Marifty was the name of one of our tunes. Just crazy stuff, but it stuck. It always just stuck, and it was more working titles. And I love the working titles, and it was B&B was the working title, and I just left it. I just said, well,
Yeah.
breakfast and a blowjob. I don't know. You can put whatever you want. You know what I mean? It could be anything. It doesn't. The song is.
I'll take two.
Yeah, exactly. That's right, man. Yeah, no, the titles of the songs are mostly just working titles that just sort of stuck. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Hell yeah. Great freaking tune.
Thanks, man.
I kind of, out of the two songs too, I'm kind of, I don't know. It makes me think of like, I want to say like Wallflowers, like 90s Wallflowers, maybe like
I
those
get
kind of
that.
vibes.
I get that from some people. I've had people say that it sounds a little bit like the Tragically Hip. I've had some people say it's got a little bit of Tom Petty in the sound. There's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, Tom Petty. Yeah, Tom
It's all
Petty.
just
Petty?
it's
Yeah.
influences that I've listened to my whole life, and I don't sit down to write a song with any pre-notion that it's going to go a certain way. I just write how I write. I try to make some things funny in a song, not in a humorous way, but I try to take the ear away from what's happening and go somewhere else real quick and then come back. I'm a big fan of that sort of weird progression stuff, and it's the you know, it's all. I mean, I've been listening to the Tragically Hip my whole adult life. I've been listening to Tom Petty my entire life. You know, so you pick up these influences, and they creep in here and there, and they're all wonderful compliments. And Wallflowers too, Jacob Dylan, that whole band, that whole career that band had was killer. So that's a wonderful compliment, and I appreciate it very much. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, 100%.
Cool.
Also from reading your biography,
Mm-hmm.
you're in radio as well?
I do radio programming at CFCR, Community Radio 90.5 FM in Saskatoon. I do jazz shows. I do some blues shows. Whenever they need a fill-in host. I used to run every week for about the last year. I've been doing jazz shows on Fridays. I'm part co-host of the guitar show on Friday nights with Chris Vassar. There's more hosts.
Oh,
coming
he
in
was
for
he
that
was
show.
playing at Doylefest as
Yeah,
well.
he played
right?
at and he also hosted the Jam Saturday and Sunday.
Gotcha.
He's a real good guy. He's a real good guy for provincial music, and he loves pushing local stuff. He loves it.
Frickin' A.
So, and I love being on the radio because you get a chance to share your music by force. You can play whatever you want. There's no rules to it. You know, it's bare knuckles radio. You can do whatever you want. After a certain time, it's bare knuckles. I mean, in the daytime, you can't really be dropping the F-bomb while the kids are listening, but you know what I mean.
That's right. That's funny you say that, because I actually had a phone call with 102 today. So this episode comes out Monday. So this would have been last Friday. There was clips of me throughout the day talking about the F word, actually. So Whitney had put a post on Facebook, something about what do you use instead of fuck?
Oh yeah,
I saw that.
Yeah.
So I commented something on the lines of, you know, as long as they're like, just let them use the word, as long as they're using it in the proper sentence structure, like who cares, right?
Yeah.
And then so she kind of texted me and she's like, can we get your hot take on air? And I'm like, fuck yeah, you can, Whitney. Let's go. So yeah, I did that call, and I was explaining like my personal opinions on it. Not everybody will agree with me on this.
Yeah.
But like, so I've got a 7-year-old son who's in grade 2, and I cuss in front of him all the time. Like I've got the mouth of a sailor, right? But he doesn't swear. Like he just like, that's just not in his vocabulary.
He doesn't need it.
Yeah, he knows what they are and what they mean. And I want to get that call from the school saying your kid's dropping F-bombs. And I'm just going to be like, well, how did he use it in a sentence, right? Like, did he use it accurately? Like,
was it in proper context?
Yeah, exactly. But that day is never going to come. But that's what I mean. Like, it's such a universal word. It can be a noun, an adjective, an adverb, whatever. Frick, you name
Frustration.
it. Yeah. Like
my daughter, she's 11 now, but when she was 4 or 5, we were over at a friend's place, and she was playing with her friend in the hallway,
Yeah.
and it was his birthday party, and he didn't want to share his new toy that he got for his birthday. And all of a sudden, my wife and I are in the kitchen talking to friends, and all of a sudden, from the hallway, we hear "fuck" from this little kid, and we look at each other, it's like, "Hey, that's ours."
That's great, man.
And
You
then
have to stand up for yourself too, so that's really
yeah,
great.
yeah. And then so we talked to her about it, like what was that all about? And she goes like, "Well, I was frustrated because he didn't want to share." Like,
Yeah.
all right, well, at least you used the word in the right sentence.
Yeah.
That's a very mature statement. I was frustrated because he didn't want to share.
Yeah,
That's very,
yeah.
very good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The word is
Oh, yeah.
useful. It's very useful.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, and if you substitute it for like frick or frig or whatever,
Means
like
the same.
it still means the same thing. So just use the word fuck. Like
Yeah.
why you wouldn't call, like you can call a chair a table,
Yeah.
you know, you can change whatever you want, but the
Yeah.
meaning of it is still what the intent, you know?
Son of a
right.
table.
Yeah. You know, like it's just crazy. People are crazy, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah, so I thought that was kind
Yeah,
of
that's cool, man. I saw that
man.
post too, and I was gonna, I don't know what I don't know what I would have said to her. I think I tried I have a lot of children. I have 4 kids of my own, and when the first couple were very young, I tried very hard for a few months to not swear in front of my kids, but eventually it's like, fuck this shit. man.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly. Right. I guess
like you have stuff, people have stuff, and you just have energy that needs to get out, and it's like that's how you get it out. And
Yeah.
well, yeah. And everybody does it.
yeah.
Everybody. So
Yeah,
like
it looks out of place if you're trying really hard not to swear. It's kind of like, well, you don't even want to say that word. It's like,
right.
Okay.
It makes it awkward.
So you said you were Dutch born.
That's right. I
When-
was going to ask
when-
you about your accent, actually.
Yeah, it's Dutch.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where?
I was born in Groningen, in Holland.
Yeah, I was born in Winschoten.
It's a small world after
Yes,
all,
sir.
my brother.
So when
That's
did
great.
you move here?
My mom and dad moved here first in 1964, and they had my sister, and then they had already had my oldest brother Peter, and then they moved here in '64 and had my sister Selena. Then we moved back to Holland in 1970, where I was born, and then we moved back in '75. So I came
Okay.
here in 1975 when I was 5 years old, and the first word I was taught by was one of my it turned out to be one of my dearest friends, Blair Tyson. The first word he taught me, and you'll never guess what it was.
Fuck.
It was fuck.
Yes.
No word of a lie. And I go into the confectionery, Little Gem on Lorne Avenue that was across from Buena Vista for decades. And her, Miss Malone was her name, and her son was Mr. Canada weightlifting, Pat Malone. They were all a beautiful family. But I went in there and I used that word a couple times, and boy, did I ever get schooled quickly at the Little Gem. And I never used that word again in front of her anyhow. But that's a funny story.
So the reason I'm bringing that up is because if you listen, and I don't know if you still do, but if you listen to Dutch radio or Dutch media in general, you can swear whatever you want, whatever time you want.
They let it go, hey?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm into sports. Formula One is my thing. And every time the Dutch pit reporter interviews one of the drivers,
They're just cussing?
oh yeah.
Is that right, eh?
He walked up to one of the drivers and he was like, "Well, fuck it, duck."
Yeah.
and the driver was like, "Oh man, yeah, I still can't believe you guys can swear on TV." And he's like, "Oh, I can." And then the driver was like, "Well, I can't, so let's tone this down a little bit."
That's pretty great. The Dutch are forward thinking, and they've always been that way. They've always been progressive, and they just they don't really give a shit about anything. They just the Dutch are very, very free flow. And it runs through the blood of the people. It's just the way we are.
Right. So when you're doing that radio show, is it live or do you have to do some editing?
It's live. So there are some opportunities to do pre-records. Since COVID started, it was a huge drop off actually there were about 5 people that ran CFCR radio, and it probably takes to do proper programming on that station. It probably takes closer to 40 people a day, but there were 5 people taking over that entire programming regimen at CFCR radio for 2 years. And they are Jay Allen, Arnie Van Balgen, Neil Bergen, and there was Kaylee, and I forget his last name, forgive me, and Rebecca, and they ran that station. And I tell you what, doing live programming is great fun. It's super exciting, but when you're forced to do it in that regard, it's a very hard job to do. But it is live, and because we only go in once a week, we have a whole 7 days to pick set lists and pick songs. It's pretty fun, man. Like it's And it's a great opportunity for anybody that wants to get into the arts. It's a great way to get into shows a little bit cheaper. You get to meet a lot of people. It's a beautiful station. I mean, they're all about the community. They're very sharing. They're very safe. It's just a really great thing to do. And I've been doing it for years. I started in 1987 down in the basement on 2nd Avenue. CFCR used to be underneath Meg's Diner. But and it was just a real dark, dank little room, and you had CDs and you played your stuff. But now they've moved up to the 3rd floor of a real nice building downtown. So it's a real nice metropolitan feel too. And it's a good station.
Holy smokes!
You get to meet a lot of people. You get to meet artists. You get to interview good artists. I got to interview. I forget her name from Rough Trade. I don't know what. I forget her name. But anyways, you get to interview some really cool people.
Yeah.
And which is fun because you learn a lot from them in the pre-interview. You have a little quick convo. And then you get a measure of how these people are going to be, and most people are really, really cool. Carol Pope is her name. Forgive me, Carol Pope. If you ever see this, forgive me.
Can you tell me a little bit?
Now.
Yeah. We'll cut that clip out and we'll send it to her. Can you tell me a little bit more about the pre-interview thing? Like when Mark and I do this show, like there's none of that. Like we're coming in as the viewers and listeners are seeing this, like we're getting to know you as they are. Right?
Yeah, and I have no problem. I like that. I like the feel of going in cold, so to speak. I like the feel of keeping it open and free. It's nice to have a couple of guidelines. And when it comes to an interview with somebody like Carol Pope or somebody of any regard, and even with local bands like that are playing at the Capitol, it might be their first gig or something. I try to do a little bit of background.
Right.
You guys had my bio. We've talked a few times. You kind of know I'm not going to come on and be like, fucking this and be just an idiot,
Yeah.
So we kind of know that already. But I like to do a little bit of homework. But I also like that for me, when it comes to an interview, I have no problem if CFCR called and said, we need you in the station in 5 minutes to do an interview. I'm like, who is it? It's blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, let's go. Yeah. And I'll just go in and say, hey, where did music hit you first? When did you realize that music hit you? And from there, it's just two people talking, and it doesn't matter who it is. Yeah. Yep. Because it hits us all differently in different ways at different ages. And for me, it was very young and very, very, I was thoroughly exposed to music with my mom and dad. Like they played records all the time. It was just all on, and they would dance. And when songs came on that were really good, anything by Little Richard would do the trick usually. Nice. In the room or the kitchen, and they would dance, and it just turned the house into it was like a concert all the time. Music was just a huge part of my life. So that's why I just always want to do it. And we're so excited when you guys said, let's do this podcast, because we get to talk about music. I get to know you guys a little bit. I get to find out there's another Dutchman nearby. It's just nice. It's just really nice.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Speaking of records, do you still spin records at all?
I don't play a lot of vinyl at CFCR, but there are a couple of people that do. Jillian plays quite a bit of vinyl on her jazz shows, which is really, really great. And there's a Chad Collins on Tuesday mornings, 8 to 10. He plays nothing but vinyl, which is fantastic. And then there's Grooveyard, which is 11 p.m. on Fridays, and it's also all vinyl, which is very rare on radio. I mean, you just don't get that, you just don't get that. Ron Spazzeri, who is a huge proponent of CFCR, one of the cornerstones of why that station even exists, has a complete vinyl show, and has for, I think it's going on 30 years, you guys. He's been going for 30 years, hauling records down to the station, off the bus, going upstairs and playing an hour of vinyl. It's very rare. It's so rare.
We should give him one of those these Northern Royals records and see if we can get a spin or two on.
Oh, it'll get played. Chad Collins would love to play that stuff. He plays everything. And Jillian too. Jillian loves new music, and she loves spinning records. She just loves the vinyl. So do I, but it's just another thing to learn, and
I just had an idea.
Well, I got a bunch of ideas, and one of them being is, like you said, a rock show on Friday night that you're hosting.
The guitar show.
The guitar show.
Yeah, man.
Dude, what if I sent you Hellbent from the Hour Hand? Would you play that on there?
Are you kidding? For sure we would, man. And not only that, we probably have them on an interview as well. And we're starting to get the station open. So I mean, you guys could come into the station. We could do an interview with you guys. Get everybody warmed up to the idea of that, and then we could bring the Hour Hand in and do. I mean, there's a lot.
I'm so in.
A lot of collaborations like that.
Chalk me up, man. I'm in 100%. The Hour Hand just released their song last Friday, and it's doing
Well, 2 Fridays ago.
Yeah, I saw
2 Fridays now.
It was 2,000 hits like in a week or something. It
It's
really,
Yeah.
it's
in a few days,
well
yeah.
over that
Yeah.
now. I asked
Yeah.
him today what it's at. I kept telling him, like, stop checking it, like let it sink for a week, right?
But it's
But then
exciting.
today I'm like, so what are you at? Like,
Yeah.
what's it at today? So right now, as of right now, they're at 3290 or something like that, like a few hours ago.
yeah, good for them. Well, they're working hard. Those boys, they're young, and they have lots of energy, and they have an idea of what they want it to look like and sound like, and they're making it. They're putting in the effort. They're taking the right avenues. They're asking for the right funds. They're asking for the right grants. They're getting the right people in place, and they're doing the very best they can. And hopefully, it keeps going for them, because Saskatchewan, man, we're full of heavy hitters. Like, I mean, you want to start talking about musicians from Saskatchewan, it's kind of a crazy list. And the top of the list, of course, Joni Mitchell would be. I mean, come on, it's one of the biggest selling artists of all time. Comes from this little province that we all know and love so much. Like,
right?
It's nuts. It's nuts.
Like that, everybody we've got to meet, Mark, in the last few years, like, dude, we haven't even scratched the surface of what this province has.
Yeah. It's nuts. And that's the long winters do that. And I think Winnipeg has the same thing. You look at the guys like the Landreth brothers right now that, you have these, you have 9 months of darkness basically. And if you're not in the actual darkness, you're feeling like you're in the darkness, especially as a musician or anybody in the arts. Like, you guys probably understand this too. I'm not sure. But, you get into that mood, you get sort of a little bit melancholy. Sometimes you get a little depressed, and sometimes you need to go there to write music. Most of the songs that I've released in the last 20 years have been definitely from a place of, not the happiest times, but I seem to write better when I'm miserable. I haven't written a song in 2 years because I've been really happy. So there's no need to write anything,
Right.
It's kind of the damnedest thing. It's a curse and it's a blessing at the same time. And
is that
happiness?
I wonder if that's because it's like therapeutic in a way, in a sense, right?
I think you like to. I think as an artist, you want to be heard, and for an artist, for me anyways, and I know it's what it's like in Saskatchewan. You always feel like you're not quite good enough. It's like, man, is this good enough? Should I even be playing this? Should I even be doing this? Is this not going to go over well? Probably the best advice I can give anybody, which I have to learn to take myself to, is just do it. And you'll be done that part of it, and then you can move on to the next thing. And that's the thing, you just got to go through the steps. Even if you think no one's going to like this, who gives a shit? Just do the thing, move on to the next thing. Just keep moving forward. Just keep writing, keep learning, keep trying stuff. I see lots of artists in Saskatchewan that start out very poorly. Like, you hear them and you go, oh my God, what the hell is going on? But it never ceases to amaze me. A couple of cold winters, and these artists come back and they have an identity. They have a bit of a sound. They have a little bit of heartache, and it changes the whole thing. It's wonderful to see. Saskatchewan's a wonderful place to make music, and the artists that come out of here, and including the Hour Hand, I think there's just super high energy. It just reminds me of like Foo Fighters style rock and roll, man. Like, it's
dude. I'm not scared to say it, but like right now, and for the past months, maybe over a year, the Hour Hand, like, I know they're young and they're new.
Yeah,
they're my number one favorite band. I have no problem saying that. Like, I love the Hour Hand more than I love like Metallica and Godsmack, and like, dude, like, the Hour Hand.
They're definitely in that crowd too. They're in that heavy hitter crowd. And they the first time I saw them was at the Capitol, and even then, this was a few years ago. They were great then.
Yeah.
They were great then when they were just starting. And I think it felt to me like we were watching a band that was going, oh, hey, we're doing an all right job here, guys. Let's. And the next meeting after that show was probably like, let's get going here. Let's put some real effort in, and those guys are doing it. And that's what it's
for sure.
Yeah.
I fucking love the Capitol, man. That place. Great, oh, dude.
Yeah.
You know what? I have a feeling that Fabian has been there while we were there, but we just crossed paths. And
I'm sure. Oh, dude, there's no question. There's no question.
The first time I really took notice was when, you were doing. I saw you play 2 songs on stage acoustically, and I don't remember what the hell was going on.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I remember meeting you for sure, because we talked about this podcast right away, and right away you were on my radar. I'm like, okay, this is the guy I want to stay in touch with, because I'm a big fan of anybody in the province that's doing stuff like. And where are you guys located? It's Bellevue, Saskatchewan, right?
That's right. We're kind of between Prince Albert and Saskatoon, off the beaten path.
It's an hour north of Saskatoon.
Yeah. That's a nice distance too.
Yeah. There's like nobody in this town, dude. It's like a town of 100 people. Okay, can we? I'm trying to think where to steer this now.
Yeah.
I got a
Cheers.
fly in my room. How's that?
Yeah,
Yeah, so do we.
It's like,
Did you see him?
fucking son of a bitch. Is it the same fly? Wouldn't that be something?
he's just going through the lens.
Yeah,
in and
no,
out.
he just flew over to Saskatoon and came back.
He's a Zoom fly.
Freaking rights. Doylefest.
Yeah.
Were you there the whole weekend? I was just there on the Saturday.
You know, I came in on Friday night. I got hired early in the summer. Some very good friends of mine in a band called Oscar's Hollow got some bad news from their drummer Kurt that his partner was ill, so they needed to find someone to replace Kurt. They were actually talking about not even doing. There was 5 festivals booked, and long story short, Doylefest was the last one on the bill. So we ended up doing Ness Creek. We did Dog Patch. They did a couple of other ones. They did Nap Attack, Ramble. They did, and then we ended up at Doylefest in the last one. It was Friday night, so I drove out on Friday night to play with the Oscars Hollow, and I love Doylefest. I've been going for 5 years. Usually donate the use of my drums. This time I didn't have to. Dawson Wayne stepped up. Dawson Wayne from Chasing Illusions stepped up. Brought a beautiful little kit, a little Tama kit. No, it was Sonar. Sorry, it was a Sparkle Blue. We talked about it extensively all weekend. And he's a great guy too. And Doylefest is just such a nice. You just know you're doing good. And I'm bumping into all these super cool people, man. Like,
Right.
well, you guys, you hang out with artists like Z the Free. This is young First Nations rap artist. You know, she's just a cool person. You get to bump into Charlie Hustle, who's my favorite DJ in Saskatoon. I learned about Truth and Agony, which are, you know, I didn't really know much about them before I saw their show, and they're kicking ass, man.
Lucian.
But I drove home on Friday, and then we came back at 10 that next morning because Jillian emceed the Saturday afternoon and evening. And then we performed a couple of times. I played with Ray Elliott Band as well, and then, of course, the Pearl tribute, the Janis Joplin tribute. Yeah, which was super fun, man.
That was fun
That
to
was
watch.
so fun.
For sure. I was
So
definitely engaged.
Did you play
Dog Patch?
Dog Patch?
We
Yeah,
played
dude, I
Dog
was at
Patch.
at Dog Patch.
You
I
know,
don't know if I did we see each other?
We did.
At Dog
We saw
Patch?
each other at the entrance of the actual field, and I think
That's
it was
right.
when I just finished playing with Ray Elliott, and I think I was walking off. And then
And
you
like
came
I
in.
might have been talking with Burke at that point. or
that's right. You
something.
were talking to Burke. That's right. Yeah, and that's another one of those festivals where you get to bump into all your buddies and shit. You know, like Mark Butler's put something together there that's like, hey, come. It's not even a festival at this point. It's a party at Mark's, is what it is. You know what I mean? It's like for a lot of people, they're like, oh, I
Like a
love the
4-day
festival. It's like, oh yeah, right,
4-day
it's a
party.
festival. Yeah. Mark's like, man, you know, he hugs everybody.
Yeah.
He knows most people's names. He's got, you know, he's a good guy, man. And that's a big thing. Like what you guys are doing, it's a big thing to take on. And Mark too, putting a festival on, and same with Eliza. I can't imagine putting a festival together. I mean, I have a hard time just getting the groceries in the cart for an hour trip. You know, it's like I lose focus and shit. And you guys are running radio podcasts and audio podcasts and video podcasts, and Eliza's doing festivals, and I'm just happy to be part of all of it.
We're also doing festivals, but
yeah, that's right, and festivals exactly, and that's the thing.
Festival.
That's the beautiful part of it, is that you can connect with the people and you can play all these festivals. I mean, that's 6 festivals in Saskatoon in the Saskatchewan area you can play in one summer.
Yep.
Right?
Kind of crazy, you know?
Hell yeah.
It's crazy, man. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. As much as I shit all over Saskatchewan, I fucking love
Oh,
Saskatchewan.
man, I know, man. I've had my moments, but I lived in Alberta for 10 years, so I've seen the light.
That's why
I
you're
also
back.
lived in Holland, so there's that too. But I was only 5, so it doesn't really count. But
Yeah.
you know, there is a draw to go back. There's a draw to go back to my home country and you know, converse with. I don't know what Holland's like now. I imagine it's probably just a real nice place to tour. But people will probably a lot of tourist attractions and you know, that sort of
You
thing.
should you should tour that and play music out there.
Well, I tell you, Ray
schedule,
Elliott.
schedule a mini tour.
Yeah,
out-
Ray Elliott also comes from Dutch descent. His mom is Dutch,
Oh.
so we are planning on. We're talking to a couple of places out there that are going to try and hook us up with a few dates and some lodging, and we're talking about that extensively. We were talking about that a couple of years ago, but of course everything was on hold. Which I
Right.
think it was a tool to really teach musicians how to roll with it, really, because COVID,
Yeah.
you lost so much shit. You had to deal with it. It's like, okay, well, the only way we can do this gig is if we do this and do this and do this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now when you lose a gig, it's like, oh, no problem, because I'll just do this and do this. No problem. We can move
Yeah.
everything around.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a puzzle now. That's all. Just gotta
Yeah.
find the
It
right
truly
pieces,
is.
you know? Yeah.
Definitely.
So, do you know any venues in Holland?
Well, we'd probably be looking at something like along the same lines as who would I compare the Ray Elliott band to? You know, if like Ron Sexsmith goes on a tour, any club or theater, we'd kind of want to sort of tag in on something like that.
Right.
Somebody of that ilk, you know, because Ron Sexsmith, for some reason, has never really made it huge. I don't know why. He's a great songwriter. But that level of theater size, so, you know, 1,100 to 1,500 would be absolutely perfect for the Ray Elliott band.
Nice.
Because Ray's got great songs. He's a great songwriter. He tells good stories. He's had a good long history, and he's kept his eyes open his whole life, and he continues to do so. He keeps his eyes open about the littlest things that he brings into his songs. And if you listen, knowing him, you hear these little things like, "Hey, man, I remember that. We were there when you saw that.
Right.
Now you're writing about it." You know, great songwriter. So, but yeah, Europe is definitely on the map for us, and Eastern Canada too is a place we've always wanted to we want to head out to Montreal, New Brunswick, and Newfoundland, all that. We want to hit all that eventually too.
Frickin' A, dude.
Yeah, man.
So
I wish I could do that.
You can.
I can't. I don't play. I don't do any of that, man. I'm seriously
You
just
can
a
travel.
fan. I'm legit just a fan of music. What?
you can travel and be a fan.
Oh, I can travel. Yeah, roadie.
Yeah.
Roadie that
Yeah.
shit.
Hey,
It's
roadies,
just,
man.
Gary-
it's
Gary
just
Deer.
who am I following? That's the question.
Yeah,
All of
that's
them.
exactly-
All of them, everybody. I'm following everybody right now. Shit, they're like you again.
Yeah.
You'll see me front row and center.
You'll be all the bands that show up at a certain venue. Like, oh, Joel brought the band this time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt. Dude, it was like we went to I was in Regina last weekend.
Yep.
And we didn't tell the bands that we were going. So when they saw us walking in the door, they were just like they were happy. They were happy to see a
Yeah.
familiar face, dude. And that made me it was such a warm welcome, and
Yeah,
like
man.
it was fun. We had such a good time that night.
Yeah. I feel the same way when I see you, man. It's just one of those things where it's like, Joel, man. Hey,
Yeah,
man,
it's like
Joel,
you
and
know
all
it's gonna be a good time,
Yeah,
right?
it's just
Yeah.
nice it's nice.
Hell yeah. Well, and it's fun because I do like watching artists that I don't know or haven't heard before.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
like that because it's
Yeah.
that's like when I'm gonna say I discovered, but I'm trying to remember Rebecca Strong from Prince Albert. Dude, I'm so bringing her to an open mic in
Yeah.
October
Yeah. Yeah.
because the definition of a voice of an angel on
Is that
this
right,
on
hey?
this young
Yep.
woman from Prince
Wow.
Albert, Saskatchewan, just holy shit, dude, like tears in my eyes for
There's
real.
so many talented people in the nooks and crannies of this place. Like, it's kind of nutty, man. Like,
and she's one of those artists that just needs the right guidance, I think.
That's
yeah.
just it. Like, just yeah, she I mean, she clearly knows she can sing like an
Yeah.
angel, but
Yeah.
she's like, yeah, I don't know, like I don't know how to write a song. I don't know, like
Yeah,
she's just
yeah.
young. That's all it is. It's like,
Yeah.
where do I go from here?
That's the thing. And then when you become a young artist, if you're young at that age, you're guarded in the sense that when I was 20 years old, getting married was like, yeah, let's just do it. Let's just get married, man. Let's do it. You know, you got married and then you got divorced and then you know, and all this shit
Yeah.
goes down and you're like, I'm 30 years old. I got all this bullshit in my life. My heart's killing me. Like, I don't know what the fuck's up or down anymore. So you have all
Right.
this stuff to write about. And these young artists nowadays, they are a little more savvy. They're not going to just, you know, marry somebody, you know, for fodder for songwriting. So they really have to find stuff. And I listen to artists like Ellen Fraze comes to mind. And I toot a lot of horns when it comes to Saskatchewan music, but I tell you what, Ellen Fraze to me, when I listen to that, I don't even put her in a place. I put her I put her in the air because she can float with. She just comes in to my song lists, as well as Bonnie Raitt, as well as the Rolling Stones, as fine as the band, Emmylou Harris. She just comes in with the playlist and is out again. It's like, oh man, I heard an Ellen Fraze song today, and it was the best thing I heard. And I listened to 9 hours of music, you know.
Yeah.
She's a kid from Martinsville, and also Mark, she's from Dutch descent as well. So her family has a beautiful dairy farm outside of Martinsville, and they sell lots of really nice Dutch stuff there too. But she's a wonderful artist, you know.
Her parents own that home hardware.
Is it a home hardware? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's killer, right? It's killer. Man.
That's where they sell the Dutch.
The little Dutch
stuff.
store.
Yeah, is that where you got those clogs?
No.
They've let that store go a little bit. They need to update the shelves a wee bit because we go there a couple of times a month just to check. You never know what you're gonna find there.
Yeah.
It's hard
But
to find good Dutch
that
food.
back corner, that's the
Yeah.
most important one.
That's
Yeah.
freaking
And it's
hilarious.
right along the painting tools and stuff, which is very
Yeah.
funny because my dad painted houses his whole
Oh.
life. I mean, he did a ton of different stuff. He drove taxi. He ran a pizza joint for a while. You know, he unloaded sugar from train cars when he first moved here in 1970 in Saskatoon in the winter.
All right.
So in '64, and when he moved here with my mom, he thought it was going to be the Wild West. He thought there'd be wooden sidewalks and cowboys and horses. He had no idea that he would get into this situation where it'd be minus 40 and he'd be having to carry fucking 40-pound sugar bags by the thousands.
Yeah.
So he was a very, very big, strong man, but I forgot what the point I was trying to make, but
The paint across the
so
the
it's
aisle
funny
from-
because he started painting houses and he was very good at it. He trained us all how to do it. It's all his family's done for 70 years is paint houses. They have all the Dutch food right beside all the painting gear, so it's really convenient for all of us. We're like, oh, this is great. I can get some kook and I can get a putty knife. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People will be like, did he just say kook?
Yeah. That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
It's like, what
It
the
sounds
fuck?
like we're doing Swedish, but it's not. It's Dutch.
Yeah.
That's great, man. That is great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Koek and stroopwafels.
Yeah, stroopwafels. Yeah, I love it, man.
So
But
can
Yeah,
you
did
still
you- did
speak
you ever-
like?
Oh,
Have you ever tasted stroopwafels?
I don't think so.
oh, you'd love them.
What is that?
Joel, you'd love them.
They're like the thin little wafers with the it's like a caramel in between.
Oh, maybe.
They're very
It's very
sticky.
good.
Yeah?
No,
Is
do
it
I
like
still
covered in
sp-
chocolate?
No.
No, that's the one thing that's not covered in chocolate in Holland.
Yeah.
We
Beschuit?
love chocolate. Yeah. Oh, get me started.
But you can
I
you
don't.
can
I
buy,
don't speak a lot of Dutch. I can't speak a lot of Dutch. I think I can really slowly get a conversation or get through a sentence, but it's not very good. I
Right.
should really learn a little bit more. And my mom, my dad passed away a couple of years ago. He was such a funny guy. He would always say, they talk the English Dutch and they'd mix it all up. And sometimes at school functions, be like, you guys are saying all the bad shit in English, so shut up. 'Cause, you're killing me here. Like,
we that's what my wife and I do. So she came to Holland for 7 years and learned the language there.
oh, it's wonderful.
So now I'm here. She knows French, Dutch, and English, obviously, and the kids learn English and French. So we have Dutch as a backup for if we
Yeah.
need to talk shit about the kids.
Perfect. My dude,
There's
you could write a song in Dutch.
Yeah, I should try that and see how that goes.
You should. You could
That'd
write.
be a great
you
way
could,
to learn how the words
could-
work again.
it-
Because
could be all swear words too, and
Yeah.
nobody would know the difference.
Yeah.
Clotesuck blues is all it'd be. Oh shit!
I'm all over that.
Or even just a verse.
Yeah,
Start with a verse.
I might try that now and send that to you guys. You can share it with everybody at some point. That's great.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
That is great.
I'll share it with my friends in Holland too.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. So okay, what do you now that summer's kind of closing
Yeah.
up here and we're
Oh,
moving
don't say
into
that,
winter?
man. Jeez,
Do you what kind
September.
of stuff do you got in the pipe here for the next few months?
Well, I'll tell you what. I just first of all, I love summer. I do not like super hot temperatures. I like temperatures that are 25 and below is fine by me. 30 and above is horseshit. 34 and higher is just fucking torture. So, do I love the fall, man? There's nothing better than me. And I know, you get these pregnant women that they call when they're nesting. They get their shit in order. They get their laundry baskets in the right place. They get all their diapers in a row. Everything's all clean and ready to go. When fall comes around, I'm nesting, man. I'm getting my shit set. I got my rototoms. I got my guitars. Everything's getting in its place. It opens me up to start writing. Cold weather definitely gets me rolling into writing and stuff like that. I just became the vice president of the Saskatoon Blues Society, so we're working on a bunch of big shows, and with board meetings and everything else. We got Crystal Shawanda coming on October 4th to the
Oh, nice.
basement in
I saw that.
Saskatoon. It's going to be a great show. So that's been taking up a lot of my time. I'm also on the board of CFCR Radio, so I'm trying to learn how that all works. But that's some boards, they're not quite as loose as others, and I'm finding I'm finding a lot of value in just getting in on the meetings of the CFCR stuff. There's a lot of serious business going on in there, and it's a serious deal, and it should be taken. So I just sort of I'm I'm a member at large. I'm a board member at large. I'm just watching and learning as I go. But the Saskatoon Blues Society has been just a really, really fun experience. I really like that, and I'm gonna be recording my own music, and maybe even get a little tour out to Vancouver to get a break from the winter this year. We'll see what happens, because I got a pretty good band, and I've got 30, 40 songs that just I haven't played in a long time. So
Right.
yeah,
Right. Hell yeah, man. Well,
Cool.
I am definitely looking forward to seeing you
Sweet,
in
man.
person again.
Yeah.
yeah,
100%.
yeah. That's right on.
You'll have to let us know when you're playing. Do you
I
have
will.
do you have a website where you have your
We're just we're in the
gigs?
process of getting things organized. I'm nesting right now, so I'm just getting my internet. I'm internet nesting as well. So I'm gonna actually bring some people in to help give me some advice. There are people out there that do this for a living, so I don't know why I would be like, delete all. Do you? Okay, Mark, we're gonna talk. It's like I do a lot of delete all shit on my Pro Tools. Like, oh shit, did I just lose that solo? I really dug that solo. It's like that sort of stuff. Well, it's like how this whole thing started. It's like, is my mic on? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
That's great. That's
love
what
it.
makes it so fun. I actually quite like the Zoom shit, man. I'll talk with people on Zoom. I'll do podcasts like this all day. I just love it. I just love yammering.
Friggin'
on
rights.
about
I
stuff
wish
that we love.
I wish Zoom would up its video quality though.
Oh, they have
It-
you can get 1080 4K video, but you have to pay for it.
Well, I pay for Zoom already anyway.
No, you have to pay more for
Yeah, it's
How much though? What's the
Yeah.
What
It's
are they
like,
charging?
it.
I think I pay like a couple $100 a year.
Yeah, it's like a couple
That's-
$1,000 per year if you want the HD.
Oh, thousands?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because you need
This podcast needs some major sponsors,
Yeah.
dude. To
or we
get
switch to
that higher
Riverside.
quality. Yeah,
there's
Mark
somebody-
keeps talking about Riverside. Have you ever heard of that?
I've never heard of Riverside. No.
So
Is
it does have better video quality for sure. We actually tried it once with the hour hand when we had the hour hand on.
And I
Yeah.
shit the bed on that. That
But-
wasn't Riverside's fault. That was me.
It was there was technical difficulties in that one. Is that what that episode's called?
I think so.
It might be.
I love that. It's hard. It's hard to learn new stuff on the fly, especially, and if you have a problem, it's like, oh, how are we going to fix this so quickly without interfering with what's going on? But that's just the way it goes. People are getting used to it. It's also becoming a bit of a blooper reel in real life, where it's like, hey, my video's upside down. Why the fuck am I upside down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny shit for people to watch too. You got to say
And-
Definitely.
I like that when I did radio back in Holland.
Yeah,
I like that pressure of being live,
yeah.
and it's like you can't fuck up, and if you do, you better have a backup plan to,
Yeah, you need to.
to
Oh,
especially
fix
to
it right
play-
away.
You can't have dead air, and if you don't have music ready to go, it can get real
Yep.
uncomfortable really quick on
Yeah.
audio radio about that. Yeah,
I've had it a few. I've had it a few times where I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm click. You're supposed to play now.
Yeah,
click,
yeah.
click.
Oh, I would
Fuck.
be canceled in a heartbeat if we were live, dude.
Why?
Because I've got no filter, and I don't always. I don't
He
always.
doesn't have
I
any
don't-
filter.
You know what?
I don't think before I talk.
No,
I just
but-
talk. I talk
Yeah,
what
but you
I
don't say anything malicious. You just say funny shit. You don't say anything.
Well, that's
malicious.
just-
You're
I
not
just-
hurting
yeah.
anybody's feelings. You
That's
swear
just
a
it,
little
like-
bit, that's all.
Yeah, as I'm thinking it, I'm saying it. So then once I say it, I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But
Ah,
No,
it's a
but I
surprise for
think-
everybody.
I think on when you're live on air, that's different. I think you'll start thinking differently.
Yeah, you do.
I did. I did.
Yeah. I always try to have my ducks in a row, and sometimes it doesn't happen. I never take my station manager's advice by having a CD ready, and then whenever the thing goes, excuse my French, I shouldn't have said that. That was really inappropriate. But anyways, cut that please if you don't mind.
nah, that's the name of this episode.
Then my station manager will come in. There are no rules on volunteer radio. They're not going to tell you don't do this because you'll get fired. They need volunteers. They want you there. But at the
Yep.
same time, Neil will come in and be like, why don't you have a fucking CD ready?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he says it in the kindest way. But the guys working volunteer radio, Jay Allen and Neil Bergen, Arnie Van Balgen as well. Shay Lynn is also there now, and there's a new fellow there too, and he took over Kaylee's deal, but I don't really know him quite yet. But they put in a lot of effort to keep Saskatoon having a community-based, volunteer-driven radio station, and it's sort of like you can fine-tune who you want to listen to, You could go into the radio station at CFCR on your dial, listen to 15 minutes of radio, and get the most exhilarating experience in that 15 minutes. You won't find it anywhere else in the radio. I don't care how much Roxy Roller they play. You're not going to find it. There's guys on the radio, Timothy Fraser Hampton on the radio on CFCR, who's the wildest motherfucker out there on air right now. And he's the guy that coined the phrase bare knuckles radio. And he starts at midnight on Fridays, and it's fucking fantastic. And he sometimes does a swing shift, and he follows the rules, but man, he's just a proponent of local shopping, local music, local, and then he just blasts you for 2 hours with great rock and roll. It's unbelievable.
Hell yeah, my dude, I would love to come when you're doing a live show and just watch you and just.
Why don't you come in for the guitar show sometime, and we'll just shoot the shit, and we'll just.
I would
people to the
fucking
podcast.
love that. I would love that.
We need to get a relationship going between listeners of radio and podcasts, video and audio, because audio podcast is just basically really good, entertaining radio. Like, it's just really fun because we get to see each other. Like, I'm seeing you guys and you're seeing me, and it's kind of fun. It's like we're having a conversation, and it's like radio. And if you're working and you hear this, it's entertaining. You listen to it because it's people conversing and you want to get in on it. CBC used to have a story every afternoon for an hour and a half from 1 to 2:30 or something, and they'd have these people narrate stories. I was fascinated by it. I would have my headphones on while I'm painting houses. Fascinated. Just fascinated by the history of always Canadian history stories, wonderful history behind the country, and you know, some of the amazing people that are in it and some of the things that have happened, like just wonderful stuff. And I love it. I just love hearing people tell stories or talk or just meet. I love hearing people meet. I love airport meetings. You get me all going there. I love watching families reunite at airports. It's my favorite thing.
Oh, interesting.
That's funny because
so
my parents came
a month ago
in June. They were here in June.
Yeah.
And so they flew to Saskatoon.
Yeah, my timeline's way off there. They were here before Moose Fest, right?
Yep. Oh, they were July. They were here.
July. Okay.
So I was at Saskatoon Airport waiting for them. I was early, and I was just sitting there watching people at the arrivals terminal. It was great.
It's wonderful.
People just hugging each other, haven't seen each other in forever, and it's high five.
Especially after COVID, it's been years for some people. And I'm not just talking about like friends. We're talking moms and kids and shit. You know, like they haven't seen each other because of their situations. I mean, one could be working in healthcare, the other could be working in healthcare. They just can't do this thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's wonderful to watch. It's super exhilarating and fun, and people are just lovely. I just love watching people until you get cut off on Idlewild, and you're like, "Fuck you, man."
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And that's just daily life. But if you can get through that with a good sense of humor, that sort of stuff, then I think we're all going to be okay. We just got to stop the people that can't get by those little things. That's all.
Next time I'm in Saskatoon, I'm going to call you, and then we're going to sit at the airport and watch people.
Chalk me up for that one too.
Yeah. Let's do that.
I've actually noticed, I guess maybe in the last 6 or 8 months, that when I go, so a lot of the shows I'm going to, like I know these artists and I've seen their set, you know, I'll notice like little changes in it and stuff, but I'm familiar with what they're doing on stage already. And I love the show. I love the set, but lately I've been watching the crowd a lot more.
Yeah, that's cool
I'm trying, right? And I'm really digging that because I want to see like when the band did that, the crowd did this, you know, and see the engagement.
You're
there.
listening to what I mean, the band is there to listen to, really. I know a lot of it comes down to visual, and we all try to look a certain way when we go on stage. We try to look cool, try to look comfortable, we try to look like our idols. But really, it's the sound thing, and I think a lot of artists, it's like you say, if you can listen to the band but watch the crowd, you get the full effect of what's happening around you, not just for yourself, because you know how you feel when you hear the sound. Visually, if you get what we're looking like, you don't need to watch the whole show. If you can watch the crowd, it's great. You don't want to, you know, catch somebody's eye and knock off their groove, but you know, it's wonderful to watch a crowd. Like I watched Los Lobos in the Bez Gardens in, I don't know what year it was, many years ago.
Los Lobos.
Los Lobos. They closed the Jazz Fest. It was I don't know, Sunday night or something, or Saturday night even, maybe, I don't remember. But they played their set. They're one of my favorite bands. They were killer. They just fucking are the best musicians in the world. Baritone saxophone and all, crazy. Steve Berlin, who used to play in the Blasters, moved over to the Los Lobos camp and started playing for those guys. But they played their set and they were done, and we were losing our shit. The Bez Gardens, everybody was just losing it. It was a beautiful night, windy, and they're talking about the trees. And David Hidalgo says, we don't have trees like this in California. He says, we don't have these pine trees that you guys have. This is all new to us.
Right.
We've been watching these things for the last hour, and we're fascinated, and we love it. And we just love this city so much, and we love this country. And, we have a very good friend from this country, and his name is Neil Young. And we've played lots of music together, and we're going to do a Neil Young song for you right now. And they did Cinnamon Girl, and I turned around, and no word of a lie, there were 5,000 people going like this
all
the
in
Bettis
sync
Gardens, all at the same time. And I'm talking, you were 13, you were 90. Everybody was up and down, and they played that song for 3 minutes. It was the most magical musical moment I've ever had in my life, easily hands down. I've seen a lot of killer bands, but that was easily the best one for me. It's funny how crowds react, how when you watch a crowd react, what that does for you, But
Definitely.
That's your thing, Joel. That's why you have this podcast, because you want to pique interest and you like the interest of people, and you like the interest of the crowds, man. Yeah, I like that. That's cool. Very cool.
Hell yeah, man.
He's on to you.
He's on. Yeah, you cracked it.
I think
You
that's a
cracked
good.
the code.
I don't know if I'd have that. I don't know if I'd be able to turn around and watch the crowd, and look at the crowd while I'm watching it act. I'd be like, I might close my eyes and really focus on what I'm listening to.
Dude,
But,
I got a really good shot of the crowd at Avril Lavigne.
You did.
It was her encore, and I forget what fucking song she was singing. But
I'll tell you, that's like a Fanatics crowd. Those people
and I
needed her.
dude,
Yeah.
no doubt.
They needed her.
We were pretty close to the stage, like maybe 20 feet from the stage, maybe.
Yeah.
And I turned around and I did one of those.
Yeah.
And like oh fuck, man, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful shot. You should
I
check
bet.
out my Instagram.
Yeah,
It's
I will, man.
it's
I will.
fucking beautiful.
I'd be surprised if I haven't seen it already, but that's sometimes a picture takes a couple of passovers before you realize what you're looking at,
Yeah,
Mhm.
Especially
definitely.
distance shots, and I'm a big fan of distance shots because you can zoom in on stuff and start picking out your own sort of things.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I'm gonna check that out for sure.
Like when that drummer from the Janis Joplin band gets his shoulders
gets his
into it
groove on,
there.
yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude.
He probably just had a fly in his shirt or something. Drums are great, though. I mean, drums are great, man. As much as I play guitar, as long as I can remember, back when I was 11 and 12 years old, 81, 82, 83, there was a store called the Music Box. Sean Dykesman was the manager, and I love him. He would finance me shit when I was like 14 or 15 years old. He would let me take shit home and say, "Oh, you got to make payments." I never made the payments. I was 14, for God's sake.
Yeah.
So it always ended up going back. But I remember having some amazing gear in my house, like a really nice guitar that was purple, but when you hit it to the light, it would change color. Had the divey neck. It was made by a company called Snow. I'm going to share this with Sean Dykesman, this podcast, so he can listen to this as well. And a Fender Twin. And the Fender Twin is one of the loudest amps you could put on a stage. So you can imagine in my little bedroom on my house in Poplar Crescent in Saskatoon, my old man would be in there going, "What in the fuck is going on in here?" So
You're making the needle jump on my record.
Exactly. Yeah. But he came in one day when I was playing guitar, and he picked it up, and he's like, you don't need to know like a ton of. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors. It's like he would play a song called "The Airplane" or "The Letter" by the Box Tops, and he would whistle the whole thing and never change a guitar chord. And I said, "Well, no, you didn't change the guitar chord." But he said, "Well, it doesn't matter because you were listening to the whistling anyway. So it's like smoke and mirrors. Entertaining is smoke and mirrors, Again, I've lost where we were going with everything, but that sort of tends to happen with me sometimes. But I'll come back around.
watching the crowds and
yeah, watching the crowds. Yeah, just crowd participation and what Los Lobos did to me, and where music is big, and that was a big moment. Like there was a few big moments, and I think that's where I was going when my dad played guitar for me, because he would just sort of make it okay to be like, just go ahead and get up there and just do it, and then when you're done that, let's go to the next thing. And
So did your dad? Did he know how to play?
He didn't know how to play guitar, but he was an amazing singer, like one of the best singers I've ever known. In fact,
Right.
my dad used to run. He actually had a chance to be a recording artist and passed it up. But anyways, he was working on the boats. He was a captain of a merchant ship, very very young, but he would host barn dances in Holland, in Groningen, Rotterdam, Amsterdam. He would rent small barns from farmers, and then he would tell everybody around town, and they would all come there, and he'd bring his record player, and they would play music, and people would dance. That's how he met my mom, actually, who was older than him, but he told her that he was older than her, but it turned out to be the other way around. But
Nice.
I'm like, "Mom, way to go." But he would play those things. So I talked to him about, we would talk about stuff all the time, especially when he's getting a little bit sicker. I would show him a thing on my phone. I would say, Dad, do you remember this record? I'd show him a Jerry Rafferty record. And he'd be like, oh, yeah. You know, he didn't really pay attention to it. I bought the record. I had the record on vinyl, and I brought it to the house. I brought a couple of vinyl ones. He looked at the vinyl one, and it was a different thing altogether. He's like, oh, fuck, I remember this record clearly. Like, and he would just look at it, because it's more of his thing, you know?
Yeah.
He was a big influence, and again, I forgot where I was going, guys. Yeah, I had so much bullshit.
Well, I was asking if he had if he played the guitar.
Oh yeah, and he didn't, but he could sing like a motherfucker. But he would come into my room and he would do, you know that tune, Little Help from My Friends from Joe Cocker. He would say,
"Yep,
what would you do if I sang out a tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me?" He would sing it really poorly, that last note, and it always resonated with me, because it was like, dude, it's not serious business. It's business, but you're able to do whatever you really want to do. And I might have forgot that for the last 20 or 30 years, but I'm practicing that every day. I'm getting on my guitar and I'm like, wrong note? Nah, not really. Fuck, you know, I'll just bend it into the right note. Stevie Ray Vaughan said, you play a wrong note, play it again. Let him know that it's the right note. You know, these are all things that, as musicians, you just sort of pick up. And I want people to play more freely. You know, I like structured stuff, and I take great pride in my band, making sure that everybody knows what they're doing. But I like writing things that are a little bit out of left field too sometimes. And I get all that from, these are all just musical moments that I've had in my life. My dad was a huge influence. Los Lobos was a huge influence to me in that regard, that Cinnamon Girl take. All this stuff. I'm inspired by watching you guys do your thing too. I get inspired because I'm like, man, chalk went up for Saskatchewan. We got fucking killer podcasts here. You know, you can find these things on the biggest podcast platforms. You guys are on there, and it's a thing. We just got to get people to know about it, and then, man,
Yes,
like, it's killer.
Agreed. Well, we just, like I said, we do it because we fucking love you guys.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, and we love you guys. You guys coming to the festivals and stuff. It's fantastic. Like, it's just nice to bump into you. It's a street cred. It's street cred. It's like, hey, you guys know Joe Lamarck? It's like, yeah, we know Joe Lamarck. What the fuck? We know Joe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we know
Hell yeah, dude.
I was on that thing, motherfucker. You know?
Hell yeah,
stuff.
dude.
It's important stuff, and I'm gonna push the shit out of it. And I hope you guys do too. And I hope you do that with all of them. You know? And I just think that you guys should get Ellen Fraze on here, though. She's very, very good.
Well,
she's so charismatic, man. You guys, she'll have you guys like. She's just lovely.
I think I've hit her up once already.
Like, hit on her?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Like to get her on the podcast.
To get her on the podcast. Yeah, I'm married.
Yeah.
So
Mark, do that.
So Mark does everything, like when we line up guests and stuff. Mark does everything like business, like where he'll do the proper emails and all that shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck that, man. Hit me up on Instagram. Like, DM me. Let's go.
You know, there's two ways of doing it, and I like both ways. ways. You know, you get some people that want to deal with somebody like Mark. It's very, very structured. It's like these are the facts, but then you got to hold on to those facts. But you and I, when we were talking, we could have easily just been like, oh, let's just put it off for one more week. Let's put it off for an hour.
Yeah.
Let's put it off we could have easily done that, which is nice too. It's a nice too. But it's nice this is happening. I like the blend. I like that business. I like the pleasure. I like the whole thing.
Yeah, we get that a lot.
I think that's why we work well together.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, it's reasonable. It's very reasonable. And you're both music fans.
We're different.
But I'm cooler though.
You're insecure.
Yeah.
Let me ask. let me ask. Joel, what's your favorite band right now?
The Hour Hand.
The Hour. I was just gonna say you're gonna say the Hour Hand. I knew it.
Yes.
Yeah, they're really
100%.
100%,
man.
Yeah.
I fucking love those guys. Not only as musicians, but just as people as well.
Yeah.
That humility goes a long way.
Oh man.
And I've met so many people, and like, you know, if they think their shit doesn't stink, or they got a too big of an ego, or whatever the case may be, like I'm just like, I'm not interested.
You know,
like,
right away too.
Yep.
Yeah, well, yes and no. I have been burned in the past.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, that was just I learned from it, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, and I try to continue to learn from it, right? I'm not saying that won't happen again, but yeah, that's for me specifically, humility is everything. You know, we're all just people, man, and you know, just have a good time, have fun, and learn. Nobody's better than the other one.
Yeah,
like,
and learn. You know, and I need sometimes I have to stop too, and I can get pretty critical. Like, I like to run not a tight ship by any regard, but I get very critical when things aren't how my ears want to hear them. I get very
Right.
critical very quickly, and Jillian has to put up with a lot of that because she has to listen to me be like, well, why would they this or why would they this? And it's like I got no place saying anything at all, really. You know, who am
It's
I to
not your-
say anything?
It's not yours.
It's not mine, and
Yeah.
everything goes, and it's everything goes, and it's nice to. It's like you say, we're all human, and we all
Yep.
try everything. We're all gonna try everything.
Yeah.
And if we're good at some things, great, and if we're shitty at some things, that's great too, man. Because
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, you're also allowed to say, well, I don't like it.
and I don't like it. Yeah, that's a big one. Hey, teaching people to say, you know what, you don't have
Yep.
to like everything.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
just don't like this. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
That's
why
funny,
not?
yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
just don't like it.
yeah,
Yeah,
I just don't
well,
know why,
look-
but I don't like it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Like my daughter asking me, why don't you like tomatoes?
yeah.
Like, why don't you
just
like pickles?
Don't like them.
Yeah.
Right.
Man, if
She
you
doesn't like
guys
pickles,
don't like
yeah.
tomatoes and pickles, those are not great.
No,
scenarios that are happening.
Yeah,
I
you
don't-
got to have them together.
I don't like tomatoes. She doesn't like pickles.
Yeah, a little mayo.
But you
in
like
between those
ketchup.
two.
But you like ketchup.
I wouldn't say like, but I'll put up with it.
But that's
He's a
just
Dutchman.
squashed tomatoes
He wants
I-
mayonnaise
A
strictly.
lot more sugar though.
with sugar. So just
Yeah.
put sugar. on
Yeah,
your-
for me it's mayo. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
it's all mayo. It's all
I
mayo,
dreamt-
man.
All right.
I
Here,
drench my sandwiches. in mayo.
here's a hard hitting question
Yeah,
for
yeah.
for the listeners out there too. Mayo or Miracle Whip?
Mayo,
It's got to be
100%.
Hellman's. It's got to be Hellman's. It's got that thicker consistency. It's not quite as whipped as mayonnaise. It's not quite as sharp, I think is the word I'm looking for. Yeah. But although I have lived with a lot of Miracle Whip in my day, it's going to be Hellman's mayonnaise all day long, man.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But I actually do have the sweet mayonnaise from Martinsville for my French fries because I don't fuck around when it comes to French fries. So.
Nice. I
It's
love
funny
that.
because when my wife was in Holland, of course in Holland you don't have Miracle Whip because
Yeah.
it's a craft product.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we were in Germany, and all of a sudden she found this jar of or whatever this thing Miracle Whip. She's, Miracle Whip! I gotta get that. I'm like, what the fuck is this? She goes like, it's kind of like mayo. Like, why don't we just get mayo?
Just get
Yeah.
mayo then. Yeah.
Yeah. She's
There's
like,
a
"No,
real
we're-"
there's a real discord between mayonnaise and Miracle Whip. Like, people are
Yeah.
confused, man. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. So she bought it, and I was like, yeah, well, this is underwhelming. I don't know why we're so
Oh,
excited
dude,
about this.
I fucking love Miracle Whip, man.
Oh, I do, and
Like
it's
that
in yeah,
tangy
and
dip.
Oh yeah, in the right place, man. Ooh, yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah.
not like the Dutch use it.
Yeah, I
No,
suppose.
we use it for straight potatoes, but if you have it on a BLT, a Miracle Whip is the way to go. It just adds
Is it?
that. Oh, I think it is. Yeah.
Well, you lost me at the tea, but whatever.
My wife thinks this is
Get
so
it?
gross.
BLT?
But
The tea for tomato. I don't like tomatoes.
you know, so just you get BL,
Yeah.
bacon and lettuce.
That would be okay too. That'd be okay. I don't
my
like
wife
bacon.
thinks this is. Are you
Bullshit.
serious?
I hate bacon.
What about like maple
No, it's
bacon?
no, it's overrated. It's all just
You're like-
bullshit. The whole
So you
bacon
like-
fucking fad. Not okay. Once I liked bacon. Jillian has a friend who's a chef. He's very, very good. He had a whole bacon themed dinner here, and we ate it all. And I loved every dish he served. Was fantastic. Matthew is his name. I can't remember his last name, but Matthew, that was fantastic. But otherwise, bacon is a full-on fucking government farce, man. The whole thing.
Okay. So here's the thing. I was a
Sausages
vegetarian
all the
for
way.
about what
Ooh,
sausage? Yeah.
sausages.
Sausages all the way.
So I was a vegetarian for 20 odd years before I moved to Canada.
Yeah.
And then one of the reasons is bioindustry in Holland is not the kosher one, whatever.
Yeah.
But when I moved here, I pretty much knew all the meat that was ending up on our plates. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll consider eating meat.
Yeah.
And then there was this whole bacon fad. Everybody's like, oh, bacon is fantastic. And I had bacon and I was like, huh, that's
No.
it?
That's yeah. What's the
Yeah.
whole
You know,
I'll eat bacon, but
yeah, I'll eat bacon if it's not cooked too much. But everybody I know loves
Yeah.
their bacon cooked real too much. Real too
Like-
much.
like
like- yeah.
burnt,
Like crispy,
crispy.
crunchy.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what is this?
yeah,
You
that's
need
like eating
ketchup
the-
on those. Dip that shit in ketchup.
fuck
Go out
off.
in Bellevue,
serious,
Saskatchewan,
dude.
eh?
No.
I'm serious.
No.
Crispy
Well, I
bacon,
fucking
dipped
love
in
it, man.
ketchup.
Yeah, ketchup does
Steak.
fix a lot of problems on that bacon,
Okay.
actually.
Steak.
Well, I'll have
ketchup?
ketchup with steak.
No, fuck
Okay.
that,
Oh,
man.
If I
Dude,
if it's,
because else we would not be friends right now.
Yeah. if it's cooked right, I don't even have
Well,
like
of course,
steak
if it's a
sauce.
good steak, you don't.
You
need
know,
it.
like if it's a good steak,
agree.
just
Yeah.
juicy. Let's
Yep.
go.
Okay. We're good then.
But
Yeah.
the next day, you heat that steak up, and you need a little bit of something just to give it a little bit of splash.
Barbecue
using
sauce.
I'm
goes a
using
long way.
HP.
No barbecue sauce.
HP
Yeah,
sauce.
yeah, HP
Barbecue
is
sauce.
what I-
Barbecue sauce.
Barbecue.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Now I want
hilarious.
steak.
Fuck me too, dude.
You know what? Do you know patat special?
Do I know what? What is it?
Patat special?
Yeah. Potatoes,
Yeah.
special potatoes.
Yeah. Well, it's
Hash browns.
it's French fries,
Yeah.
but the Dutch normally dip it in mayo. But if you have special, then you have mayo, ketchup, and raw onions,
Oh yeah.
and you mix that up.
Yeah. So when I was growing up, Friday night, we lived right by. My mom and dad were buying houses in an area of Saskatoon called Buena Vista, and it was an old, early 1900s small housing area, very very character house based, long term tenants. Like people lived there for hundreds of years. You know, families kept their houses. Anyways, we lived right kitty corner to a park. And I would come home every Friday at 8 o'clock from the park with all my buddies doing whatever we were fucking doing up until I was, I don't know how old, but to run home at 8 o'clock to watch the Dukes of Hazzards. It came on a CBS on 8 o'clock Friday nights. And Mom and Dad would always have a bag of Ripple chips, and they would never buy dip. My dad would never buy dip. He used to come home and say, he used to call me Bulla, which was like,
Bola?
Little kid, Bulla, like little kid. Hey, little kid, I got some ice cream for you. Come on. You come home from groceries. I love groceries. I just love doing groceries. My mom and dad would come home from groceries. I'd be so excited. Dad'd be like, Bulla, I got you some ice cream. I'm like, oh my God, really, Dad? Wow, that's fantastic. All the while I'm listening to like his Bob Dylan tapes on this Walkman that he got in a house deal. I'll tell you about that sometime too. But anyways, he brought out rum and raisin. I'm like, what the fuck is this? This isn't fucking ice cream. He'd be like, here you go, rum and raisin. I'm like, oh, for Christ's sakes. I'm 11, for God's sakes. I don't like rum and raisin.
That's hilarious. I thought you were gonna say he like mixed the ketchup or whatever for chip dip.
So listen to this. So I'd come home for the Dukes of Hazzards at 8 o'clock on Fridays. I'd tell my buddies. Sometimes I wouldn't. At like 7:40, I'd look at my watch or whatever I was using at the time, to tell time. Probably the sun or the moon. I would say I gotta go, or we gotta start a game of hide and seek or some shit. And I'd go find a place to hide, and I'd bug off and go home. Mom and Dad would always have Ripple chips. They wouldn't buy dip. My dad didn't believe in buying dip. Not until the fad in the late 80s where you could do like French onion soup mix and sour cream. People got into that. It's like, oh, that's a whole other fucking world. I would mix whatever was in the fridge, and usually that was fucking ketchup and mayonnaise in a bowl. I'd mix it, and then I'd have Ripple chips, and I would watch the Dukes of Hazzards and eat. And I just talked about that with Jillian today about making ketchup and mayonnaise dip. And you guys, that is a real throwback to when I was a young boy, and I really enjoy this very much because that was. And you
can dip your cheese in there too, like
and ketchup and cheese. Oh, it's the best thing. Big.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, cheddar cheese, nice old cheddar cheese, and some nice ketchup. It's wonderful.
Well, I was gonna say this earlier. Like what my wife thinks is gross. I do this a lot, and she thinks it's fucking disgusting. But I'll like take a couple tablespoons of Miracle Whip.
Yeah.
And I'll put that in a bowl, and I'll add a little bit of vinegar, like a small little bit of vinegar.
Yeah.
And I'll just fucking drench it with dillweed. And then I add seasoning salt and ranch dressing. Sometimes sour cream I'll put in there too if I have it. And that's my fucking dill dip with Ripple chips.
Oh, dude, that sounds fantastic. Are you kidding me? That
my
sounds wonderful.
My wife is just like, you're just eating straight Miracle Whip. And I'm like, it's fucking yummy.
Good, man. Don't let her in on the secret. Don't let her in.
I've known you how long now?
I don't know, 15 years.
Why haven't I tried that?
I don't know.
That is a wonderful.
I don't know. Dude, it is so fucking good.
Yeah, that sounds delicious.
Or maybe I have.
So, well, thank you. Thank you for saying that.
That sounds really delicious.
That it sounds good because like,
back in the party days, I ate a lot of chips at your place.
You probably had it then. You probably had like the drunk version where it's just like Miracle Whip and dillweed. Like that's probably what you fucking
Anything that has more than 2 ingredients is cooking. So way to go, Joel.
Yeah.
But
Dude,
you
that's
probably
like-
just had mayonnaise and dillweed.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what that was, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
those are the good old days, guys.
Oh, right on. Well, my dude,
Yeah,
This-
man.
this was a real pleasure
Yeah,
and an honor to have you on. And I want you to know this door is always open for you.
Oh, I appreciate it very much.
Come back, come hang with us anytime you want to. If you want to
Yeah.
plug something, whatever, just come shoot the
Love
shit.
to. Yeah.
And I
would love
want to be on your show.
Yeah,
I want
let's
to come
do-
out.
Let's
Yeah.
do a guitar show. We'll do one in a couple of weeks, and we'll just we'll caveat it to this thing. We'll tell people, if you want to check out the rest of this interview, come over to the guitar show. We'll turn the tables. We'll talk a little bit about you guys, talk about your upbringings, that sort of thing. It's nice for people to know. It's nice
Yeah,
to
dude,
know
I would
who
love
they're
it.
subscribing to. You know, they need to know.
Can
Yeah.
we like pick some songs that get to play too?
Oh, you can play all the songs. You can call them out. You can pick them on the spot, but we'll play all the songs you guys want. The
Sweet.
guitar
Oh,
show is
dude.
open. It's open, man. We just like to have people on, and this would be really fun. I would really enjoy that, to give you guys a couple of.
How long is that
opportunities.
show?
It's an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm so fucking in, dude.
just enough time
I
for
think
like
that'd
3
be
chip
so
dip
much fun.
ingredients. Yeah.
Oh, I'll bring. I'm on.
Hey,
I'm on
we'll bring-
dip. I get the dip.
Yeah.
We'll bring some chips for the folks too,
Yeah.
and I'll do my best to keep the microphones off for those that are chewing.
Oh,
Yeah. Crunch. Yeah.
Fucking A.
Okay, you guys, this was great, man. Lovely to see you guys at Doylefest, and even better to see you tonight. I really appreciate this, and thank you for inviting me and for playing the songs and just for being cool. I miss you guys already, and I can't wait to see you guys again. We'll get together soon.
100%, dude.
Yeah.
We love
Alright,
the
guys.
shit out of you.
Love you guys.
Come back anytime,
Thanks
my
for
dude.
Yeah,
hanging
that
out.
was great, you guys. Nice to see
We're
you
gonna
all.
leave with Mine All Mine. So
Yeah.
thanks for tuning in, you guys.
Right on. Thanks for sharing the music, you guys. Next time.
If you were mine, then I wouldn't have to wait in line like I'm part of some crime. Taking up all my time just to pass the time. I'd get in my car and drive. One hand on the wheel, the other on the seat beside me, so I can feel. Thinking about you and you'll be in the air. Thinking about you and you'll be in the air. But I'm thinking. As if it wasn't right. You're the only one that starts me to fight. Keeping your mind on mine. I'm part of some crime.